The Galactic Council chamber, vast and ancient, echoed with the voices of a dozen species. They debated, conspired, and judged from their towering seats, high above the solitary platform where the human envoy stood. Earth's representative was the only one without augmentation, exoskin, or neural link, flesh and bone, bearing the insignia of a species too young, too fast, too dangerous. 100 years ago, Earth hadn't even achieved stable interstellar travel. Now, it held mining colonies in 6 systems, autonomous defense outposts on asteroid belts, and scientific outposts beyond Council-designated borders. Rapid expansion had not gone unnoticed. Humanity's growth defied the projected models, disturbing the carefully balanced control of the elder species. The Council speaker, a crystalline being from the Shiree Dominion, motioned for silence. Species 8772, Humanity. Your uncontrolled proliferation violates the edicts of expansion. Your refusal to submit to oversight poses a threat to galactic harmony. You have ignored 3 summons and weaponized 2 neutral zones. Today, your fate is decided. The Envoy did not flinch. We acknowledge the Council's concerns, but Earth's actions were defensive. We have expanded because we must. Our species does not stagnate. We survive. We evolve. We explore. The statement drew murmurs, disapproval wrapped in contempt. A representative from the Kalta, whose species had long held dominance over Earth's quadrant, hissed, "Your kind is volatile. Your presence is a contamination. Left unchecked, you'll destabilize centuries of progress." The Envoy's voice remained steady. Humanity has always adapted. We do not seek to dominate, but we will not be caged. A pulse of tension swept the chamber. The Council had made its decision long before the Envoy arrived. This was theater, a final, hollow gesture before execution. Speaker Shiree continued, "Then the judgment stands. The human envoy is terminated from proceedings. The species will be disarmed, demobilized, and all expansion frozen. Non-compliance will be met with force." The envoy took a breath. "Understood." There was a pause. "But you must also understand this," the envoy said, eyes cold now, voice stripped of diplomacy. "Earth does not bow. If you force our hand, we will respond. You dare threaten this council?" A reptilian delegate barked. "No," the envoy replied. "I inform you. You believe yourselves unchallengeable, immutable, but you've made one critical error. Silence. You assumed humanity was asking for permission." The council erupted in outrage, but their outburst couldn't drown out the signal that transmitted silently from the Envoy's neural implant. A quantum pulse sent directly to Earth's strategic defense network. 3 words: execute Protocol 0. Back on Earth, in a command center buried beneath the Andes, the signal was received and authenticated. Red lights blinked. Silent acknowledgments passed between generals and AI systems. The Annihilation Protocol, a last resort plan built not from fear, but from understanding, had been activated. The Envoy had bought the time needed. Delay, distract, force the Council to show its hand. It had worked. Earth now knew it had no place within the existing order. The only option was to forge a new one. The Envoy stood taller. "You have chosen extermination. Know this, Earth does not go quietly. Your fleets are known to us. Your systems mapped. Your vulnerabilities identified. If you strike us down, we will make the ashes of your empires remember our name." The speaker's glow dimmed. "You are dismissed." "I was never here to be accepted," the envoy said. "I came to deliver a message. Humanity is not prey. We are the coming storm." Without another word, the envoy turned and walked from the chamber. Guards didn't stop them. There was no need. To the Council, Earth was finished. But above, Council worlds, invisible to their sensors, thousands of human-built interceptors had already begun silent acceleration. The war had not started. It had already been lost. Back on Earth, buried within the Terran defense grid, the Annihilation Protocol's activation spread like a silent wildfire through classified channels. The Strategic Council did not panic. This was not a response born from desperation. It was the opening move in a calculated war. Earth had never trusted the Council. For decades, while pretending diplomacy, humanity had prepared for betrayal. Now, betrayal had arrived right on schedule. The protocol unlocked systems even Earth's closest allies didn't know existed. Autonomous infiltration AIs woke from hibernation, quietly activating dormant malware within alien infrastructure. Council surveillance networks began to flicker. Navigation beacons blinked off and back on, off by mere millimeters, but enough to disorient light-speed travel. On paper, Earth was still the underdog. In reality, the playing field was already tilted. The human Envoy's final message to Earth's high command had contained coordinates, locations within Council-controlled space. These were the soft points, poorly shielded communication hubs, data centers, fleet hangars. Earth's probes, long thought destroyed, have been watching them for years, quietly feeding real-time data back through wormhole relays no one else could detect. The moment Earth was officially declared an enemy, the data went live. At the Quantum Intelligence Division in Olympus Station, Aegis-class command algorithms began issuing silent directives. Drones disguised as ancient debris activated plasma cutters. Mining satellites repurposed themselves into railgun platforms. Earth's quiet war machine began to move, not in reaction, but in execution of a decades-old strategy. No declaration, no fanfare, just action. The Council expected resistance. They did not expect sabotage at scale. Across a dozen Council systems, minor malfunctions began compounding. Power fluctuations, shield collapses, weapon misfires, automated systems overriding organic commands. None of it seemed coordinated until it all happened at once. In the outer systems, 3 Council fleet bases lost contact within 60 seconds. Not destroyed, cut off. Their FDL arrays disabled from within. Internal diagnostics blamed human tech, but the Council had never granted Earth that kind of access. They hadn't needed to. Humans had given it to them, wrapped in trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and shared research. Earth had never been naive. Every deal was a Trojan horse. And now, the Council was choking on its arrogance. The Kalta Homeworld's defense grid attempted a system-wide reboot to purge foreign code. It failed. Instead, orbital satellites turned inward, locking onto their own command ships. A fleet-wide shutdown was issued, but the ships didn't listen. In the silence that followed, Earth's signature appeared on every corrupted screen. 3 bars, crossed in a triangle. Earth's covert signal for irreversible system capture. The Council scrambled. Emergency sessions were held. Blame flew in every direction. Accusations of treason. Allegations of sabotage. No one could explain how a young species had so thoroughly outmaneuvered galactic veterans. The truth was simple. While the Council enforced stagnation under the guise of order, Earth had innovated. While they debated, Earth had built. Not openly, not proudly, quietly, relentlessly. Humanity hadn't just prepared for war. It had prepared to win one. It was never meant to survive. Far from Earth, a Council archive station, believed unassailable, suffered a critical breach. Data vanished. Not copied, deleted. Eons of knowledge purged in a minute. The act was symbolic. Earth had no interest in salvaging their history. This was erasure, a message to the Council that the age of untouchable authority was over. Human military doctrine was built on one unshakable principle: assume betrayal. Every ambassador carried not just diplomacy, but contingency. Every satellite bore weapons beneath its research exterior. The Annihilation protocol was not a panic button. It was a scalpel designed to cut deep, precisely, and without warning. Council species that had mocked humanity now found their trade routes collapsing, their border worlds dark. Refugees fled from systems Earth hadn't touched, terrified of the idea that they might be next. Fear did what logic never could. It united them in panic. Humanity had not fired a single mass driver, not deployed a single fleet, but the effect was the same. The Council's grip was breaking. The final message from the human envoy reached Earth's upper command 20 hours after departure. It was short, no emotion, Just confirmation. They chose war. We gave them consequence. And Earth responded with only one word: continue. The Annihilation Protocol's second phase was never meant to destroy. Its design was disruption, cripple communications, disarm fleets, fracture trust. But the third phase, now authorized, was something else entirely. Total erasure. With diplomatic avenues closed and the Council's true intent laid bare, Earth's command infrastructure shifted focus. No more restraint. Containment had failed. Now came demonstration. In deep space, beyond known trade lanes, human Black Ops ships received their signal. Ghost-class vessels, built without records, invisible to scans, powered by stolen alien tech, re-engineered by Earth scientists. They had been drifting dormant for years. At 0 hour, they lit up, not with weapons yet, but with systems meant to project presence. Council outposts along the periphery saw sensor spikes, impossible fleet signatures, heat signatures where no ship should be. Panic began to replace protocol. On Council worlds, planetary networks began to disintegrate. Artificial environments in megacities failed in patterns too precise to be coincidence. Civic AIs, usually immune to interference, were caught in endless logic loops. Power was rerouted to non-existent grid segments. Backup systems locked out their creators. Infrastructure turned hostile, not by command but by design. Humans had embedded code during data exchanges decades ago. Every file, every shared algorithm, every benign update was a seed. And now it bloomed. Above the planet Dravix, a military fleet detected 29 ships appearing from nothing. Hulls of unfamiliar alloys, cold as vacuum, armed with weapons no Council database recognized. They did not communicate. They didn't need to. Within minutes, the orbital defense array was sliced apart. No explosions, just silence. Systems lost cohesion, like matter forgetting it was bound. Gravity distorted in microbursts. Time lagged by milliseconds, enough to make targeting systems useless. The ships vanished just as they came. Dravix's government surrendered immediately, without terms, without demands. There was no one to negotiate with, no invaders to fight, just a quiet understanding that Earth could unmake them at will. On the core world of Trevarn, the Central Council Intelligence Hub collapsed internally. Its data stores fused into inert slag without a thermal spike. No known process could do that, except one theorized by human physicists, dismissed as impossible by the Council Science Board. Humanity had achieved it, and used it, without announcement, without show. This was no longer war. It was punishment. The Kaltas Supreme Command attempted to retaliate. A fleet of 73 vessels launched toward what they believed was Earth's secondary colony system. They never arrived. Navigation drives rerouted them mid-jump, straight into the event horizon of a black hole. Not a trap, not an ambush, an override. Their own systems turned against them. It was the cleanest massacre in galactic history. No survivors, no records, just silence. Across Council space, species began initiating internal shutdowns of any system ever touched by human interaction. It was too late. Pulling the plug only made things worse. Redundancy systems were already compromised. Earth's code didn't just sabotage, it rewrote, replaced, dominated. Some Council members accused others of collusion. Alliances fractured. Fleets turned inward. What Earth started, panic accelerated. Back on Earth, no celebration, no broadcast, no announcements to the stars. The Annihilation Protocol wasn't public theater. It was obligation. A necessary evil to remind the galaxy of a truth humans had always known. The threat of extinction was a catalyst for evolution, and humanity had been evolving under threat since its birth. There were no battles for glory, no flags raised over enemy capitals, just a strategic collapse, precise and emotionless. Earth didn't destroy cities. It corrupted economies. It didn't kill populations. It erased relevance. For every weapon Earth revealed, 10 remained hidden. The message was clear. Resistance wasn't dangerous. It was obsolete. Entire sectors went dark without a single human ship in orbit. Governments surrendered not to avoid conquest, but to preserve dignity. Council leaders issued statements that redefined humanity not as a rogue species, but as an unclassified apex variable. A meaningless phrase meant to mask fear. The truth was simpler. Earth had become the standard by which future threats would be measured. Humanity hadn't demanded war. It had responded with clarity. Not vengeance, not cruelty, just overwhelming consequence. Not because it wanted to dominate, but because it refused to disappear. The Council still existed. Technically, its halls remained, but their authority had withered. Protocols once etched in stone were now irrelevant. The chain of power had been severed, not by brute force, but by inevitability. Earth's envoy, now long returned, transmitted a final silent command. Not to escalate, to stop. The point had been made. Earth had no intention of ruling. It had simply ensured no one else would rule it again. The aftermath settled over the galaxy like dust after an implosion. Quiet, weighty, irreversible. The Council, once the pinnacle of organized interstellar authority, now operated in fragments. Communication across species became cautious, filtered, and indirect. Where once there were declarations and debates, now there was silence, punctuated only by small, careful signals. No one wanted attention. No one wanted to be noticed by Earth. Among the remnants of Council infrastructure, inquiry teams scrambled to analyze what had happened. They traced the origins of every collapse, every malfunction, every invisible incision in their systems, only to find a singular pattern. Human fingerprints placed years ago, always disguised, always precisely dormant. Until now. No virus, no grand explosion, just inevitability, engineered with time, patience, and precision. Earth hadn't just struck. It had known where the foundation would crack before the builders did. Across the outer colonies of neutral species, reverence began to replace fear. Not admiration, survival instinct. Trade treaties were rewritten overnight. New cultural doctrines arose, teaching that interaction with humanity required more than respect. It demanded recalibration of identity. Earth was no longer seen as an upstart species. It was a force, not political, not religious, elemental. Back on Earth, society remained stable, untouched by the war it had just concluded. The people were informed only by necessity. There were no parades, no public broadcasts. The operation had always been strategic, not symbolic. Those who needed to know understood what had transpired. Everyone else carried on, their lives unchanged. That was the goal. Total deterrence with minimal disturbance. Civilization, uninterrupted. In hidden defense centers, Earth's command analyzed every metric. The operation was measured by more than victory. It was measured by cost, exposure, future risk. While the Council had been shattered, Earth's leadership knew the galaxy had been watching. New players would rise. Some would be inspired. Others would scheme. But all would be changed. Human strategy shifted again. The protocol was completed, but the defense grid expanded. Redundant systems were layered upon existing ones. Independent colonies were granted broader autonomy, but tied directly into Earth's AI network, allowing for coordinated response within seconds. No single point of failure would ever exist again. Earth had seen what centralized power looked like. It collapsed with pride. Now, resilience was distributed, silent, invisible. What few Council loyalists remained attempted to convene a new summit. It collapsed within 2 cycles. No species wanted to tie themselves to a symbol of impotence. Worse, rumors persisted of Earth's silent presence within their encrypted systems. They couldn't be sure if they were being watched or guided. Every digital silence was suspect. Every glitch was a ghost. Some civilizations attempted isolation, cutting ties with humanity entirely. They collapsed faster than those who engaged. Earth was never directly involved. Markets moved. Algorithms adjusted. Logistics tangled. Starvation and dissent followed. Earth didn't lift a hand. It didn't need to. Influence was no longer enforced by presence. It operated through dependence. And the galaxy was deeply, irrevocably dependent. Whispers spread of Earth's next move. Will they colonize en masse? demand tribute, enforce ideology, but none of it happened. Earth made no demands. It extended no control. It simply remained present, prepared, and watching. The lack of conquest unsettled more than conquest itself. It denied the galaxy its expected narrative. There was no empire, no overlord, only consequence. On the edge of the Perseus Arm, where human explorers now charted new systems beyond Council-recognized space, protocols shifted toward expansion again, but differently, not in aggression, in readiness. Colonies were built not as forward bases, but as self-sustaining enclaves of culture and innovation. Earth no longer sought validation. It didn't need the Council structure. It had built its own, a final encrypted message, unsigned and untranslated, circulated through abandoned Council relay stations. It contained no threats, no instructions, just a single data burst encoded in Terran quantum syntax. When decrypted, it read, "Humanity does not seek to be feared, but we will never again be underestimated." That message was logged by over 47 species. Most never responded. A few tried. None received replies. The galaxy was no longer under any illusion. The age of control was over. The age of assumptions had ended. A new equilibrium had emerged, defined not by treaties or authority, but by understanding. Humanity had become the boundary between war and caution, between defiance and extinction. There were no more votes on Earth status. There were no more summons. There were only open skies, quiet systems, and a galaxy forever changed by a single decision from a species that had once been considered fragile. Now it was untouchable,